Everyone thinks they've already heard every psychology fact worth knowing. But the mind is endless. Its quirks, its shortcuts, its secret rules. They keep surprising even scientists. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the truths about how your brain really works. 1. Music changes taste perception. When upbeat, fast music plays, people rate food as sweeter and more enjoyable. When darker, slower music plays, the same food feels bitterer. Your tongue doesn't change, your brain does. Flavor isn't just chemistry, it's emotion set to sound. 2. People who sleep less often misread emotions. Sleep deprivation reduces the brain's ability to interpret facial cues. A tired mind mistakes neutral expressions as anger or sadness. That's why conflict erupts faster when you're exhausted. Your perception is tilted toward threat. 3. Writing by hand boosts learning better than typing. When you write, your brain processes the information through motor movement, spatial mapping, and language all at once. Typing skips those layers. The slower act of handwriting actually cements ideas deeper into memory. 4. Fear spreads faster than calm. If one person in a group panics, their tone, gestures, and pace infect others in seconds. But calmness takes longer to ripple through. Evolution favored alarm because danger missed could mean death. That's why mobs spiral faster than they stabilize. 5. People who talk to themselves in third person regulate emotions better. Saying, "You'll be okay," instead of "I'll be okay," creates distance between the self and the stress. It tricks the brain into feeling like you're coaching a friend, and the brain listens more. Detachment brings control. 6. Red clothing makes people appear more attractive. From ancient rituals to modern dating, the color red signals fertility, passion, and dominance. Experiments show men and women alike rate red-clad strangers as more desirable. Attraction is not always about looks. It's about signals coded in color. 7. People remember unfinished conversations longer. When a discussion ends abruptly, whether it's an argument or a mystery, it lingers in the brain like a dangling thread. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Closure heals memory. The lack of it keeps wounds open. 8. Loneliness distorts time. Isolated people report time feeling slower, days dragging, hours stretching. Social contact speeds time's rhythm. Without it, the clock becomes an enemy. Loneliness is not just emotional. It alters how you experience existence. 9. Eye movements reveal memory retrieval. When someone looks up and left, they're often accessing real memories. When they look up and right, the brain may be constructing something imagined. It's not perfect, but the eyes often betray whether the mind is recalling or inventing. 10. People who delay gratification succeed more often. The famous marshmallow test proved it. Children who resisted a small treat for the promise of a bigger one later had better outcomes in life. The brain that learns patience learns power. Discipline is delayed joy. 11. People copy accents when they like someone. You might not notice it, but when you feel connected to a person, your speech subtly shifts toward theirs. It's the brain's unconscious attempt to build trust. Mimicking sound is like saying, "We're the same. You can trust me." 12. Stress can make you catch colds faster. When the body lives in fight or flight mode too long, the immune system shuts down non-urgent defenses. That's why students often get sick after exams, and why burnout literally makes people physically weak. Stress doesn't just live in the mind, it invades the body. 13. People walk slower when they're sad. Even without words, emotion seeps into movement. Shoulders slump, pace drops, arms swing less. A sad body drags time itself. And the reverse is true. Forcing yourself to walk energetically can trick the brain into lifting mood. 14. Smiling while speaking makes your voice sound warmer. Even over the phone, listeners can hear a smile. Muscles in the face shift tone resonance, giving your words friendliness that the ear instantly detects. The body and voice are linked more tightly than we realize. 15. People forget 80% of new information within 24 hours. Unless it's reviewed, repeated, or emotionally charged, the brain discards quickly. It saves energy by keeping only what feels urgent. That's why teaching, journaling, or explaining something to others cements knowledge. Review is survival for memory. 16. People judge trustworthiness in less than 1 second. Before a word is spoken, your brain scans a stranger's face, posture, and eyes. In a blink, it decides safe or unsafe. Logic may refine later, but instinct rules first contact. Snap judgments aren't always right, but they're ancient. 17. Silence in negotiation is power. When one side pauses after a statement, the other often rushes to fill the gap, revealing more than they intended. The discomfort of silence makes people over-explain, over-offer, or over-promise. Quiet isn't empty, it's leverage. People mimic yawns because of empathy. When someone yawns, mirror neurons trigger yours. The stronger your empathy, the more likely you'll catch it. That's why yawning spreads in groups. It's biology whispering, "We're in this together." 19. Time feels shorter when you're busy. When tasks fill your day, the brain compresses the hours. But when you're idle, time stretches painfully. That's why vacations feel like they fly by, while waiting in line feels endless. Perception of time is ruled less by clocks, more by attention. 20. People remember emotionally negative experiences more clearly. It's survival. The brain marks danger with neon ink so you don't repeat it. That's why embarrassments, heartbreaks, and failures stick longer than casual joys. Pain is memory's teacher. 21. People nod along more when music is playing. Background rhythm primes the body to move. Add a steady beat to conversation, and agreement subtly rises. Music doesn't just affect mood, it tilts decisions. 22. People crave patterns, even in chaos. From cloud shapes to lottery numbers, the brain desperately looks for order. It's why we see faces in objects or signs in randomness. Pattern seeking kept us alive in nature, but it also tricks us into superstition. 23. People in groups shout louder than alone. It's called social amplification. Being surrounded makes you feel less individually responsible, so your brain unleashes more volume, more risk, more boldness. Crowds make us bigger than we are, and sometimes worse. 24. People remember smells from childhood more vividly than recent ones. Because the olfactory system develops early, scents etched young last decades. One whiff of your grandmother's kitchen can collapse time in an instant. Smell is the most stubborn of memories. 25. Fear can spread through smell. Sweat produced under stress contains chemical signals that others unconsciously detect. Smelling fear, even without realizing it, can raise another person's anxiety. Emotions can be contagious, molecule by molecule. 26. People buy more when stores smell like vanilla. Scent marketing is powerful. Warm, sweet smells increase feelings of comfort and generosity. It's why malls and hotels carefully control aromas. You think you're choosing, but your nose is guiding. 27. People underestimate how much others think about them. We assume our impact is small. Yet studies show that people recall casual encounters, kind words, or rude remarks for years. You linger longer in minds than you realize. 28. People walking side by side naturally match pace. It's unconscious synchronization. The brain seeks alignment in movement, creating harmony even without words. Soldiers marching in step isn't just training, it's instinct amplified. 29. People learn faster through failure than success. Every mistake forces the brain to rewire. Success feels good, but failure teaches more. Pain is coded as information. The stumble is often the shortcut to mastery. 30. People are more generous when observed. Even the illusion of being watched, a drawing of eyes on a wall, raises honesty and charity. The brain evolved under constant tribal observation, and it still behaves better when it thinks someone sees. 31. People spend more when paying with cards instead of cash. Handing over physical money activates the brain's pain centers, but swiping a card bypasses that sting. That's why you think less about price when using plastic. The closer money feels, the heavier it weighs. 32. People laugh more when others are around. Even jokes we find mildly funny spark louder laughter in groups. Laughter is less about humor and more about bonding. It's the brain saying, I belong here. 33. People eat more when watching TV. Distraction lowers awareness of portions. Your brain focuses on the screen and stops sending fullness signals on time. Entertainment numbs hunger's breaks. 34. People judge intelligence by eye contact and tone more than by actual words. A confident stare and steady rhythm persuade the brain of brilliance, even if the content is ordinary. We mistake delivery for depth. 35. Multilingual people switch personalities slightly between languages. Vocabulary carries culture, emotion, rhythm. Speaking another tongue can shift confidence, humor, even body language. The brain isn't one voice, it's many. 36. People remember emotionally embarrassing moments clearer than achievements. Falling in public, misspeaking, being rejected. These memories burn brighter than victories. Shame brands deeper than pride. 37. People under stress notice fewer details. Adrenaline narrows focus on survival cues. That's why in emergencies, witnesses recall the big picture, but miss specifics. Stress compresses perception. 8. People judge strangers' trustworthiness more from eyebrows than smiles. Studies reveal eyebrow shape and expression affect perceived honesty more than mouths do. The smallest facial feature can carry the heaviest weight. 39. People crave closure even in fiction. An unfinished story gnaws at the mind. That's why cliffhangers feel unbearable. The brain longs for endings, even to events that never really happened. 40. People are more likely to cheat when they think no one is harmed. Rationalization silences guilt. If consequences seem invisible, the brain paints dishonesty as harmless. Morality bends where empathy fades. 41. People feel safer in higher places. From tree branches to skyscraper balconies, elevation sparks a sense of control. The brain still carries instincts from ancestors who scanned predators from above. 42. People misjudge speed based on size. Larger objects appear slower than smaller ones moving at the same pace. That's why big cars look like they drift calmly, while motorcycles seem dangerously fast. Perception cheats physics. 3. People's handwriting slants more when they're emotional. Anger, excitement, stress, all tilt the pen differently. Paper becomes a map of the nervous system. Even without words, emotion bleeds onto the page. 44. People overeat when food variety is high. The brain gets bored with sameness and shuts down appetite. But introduce multiple flavors, colors, textures, and fullness delays. Buffets exploit this ancient quirk. 45. People recall happy memories better when the sun is out. Light boosts serotonin, which biases memory toward positivity. Sunshine doesn't just brighten the day, it brightens the past. 46. People imagine the future using the same brain regions as memory. The hippocampus doesn't distinguish much between remembering and predicting. Planning is simply memory flipped forward. The future is recycled past. 47. People gesture more when speaking about abstract ideas. Hands carve the invisible into shape. Movement helps the brain translate complex thoughts into simpler signals. Gesture is thought's shadow. 48. People in crowds lose self-awareness. The larger the group, the more identity blurs. Individual responsibility dissolves, replaced by collective will. That's why riots ignite so quickly. I disappears into we. 49. People are more persuasive when they repeat a message 3 times. The brain mistakes repetition for truth. Familiarity feels safe, even if it's false. Marketing, propaganda, even personal arguments exploit this quirk. 50. People seek symmetry instinctively. Faces, objects, designs, symmetry, signals, health, safety, beauty. Even newborns stare longer at symmetrical shapes. The brain loves balance because imbalance once meant disease or danger.
If your child stares at the sky or horizon, it means they have a romantic and deep mind. You appear a few % more attractive to others than you see yourself in the mirror. The hand that gives is also the hand that receives. If you constantly move your hands and feet while sitting, you are mentally disturbed. A study found that most people judge you by your shoes, not your face. An ungrateful son is a wart on his father's nose. He leaves it alone and it's ugly. He removes it and it hurts. People who quickly become friends with you are more likely to betray you. If you talk about someone you once loved, it means you still love them. 4 walls make a man free. If you can't walk in a straight line comfortably, it may indicate magical thinking disorder. When its time has come, the prey goes to the hunter. People who dislike interruptions while working tend to be better workers. If someone close appears in your dream, it means they were thinking about you before sleeping. In the hour of adversity, be not without hope. Those who stay awake till late are more creative, intelligent, and decisive. People who are generally kind are often the most hurt inside. If you cling to small objects, it shows childhood neglect or lack of attention. If someone calls your name and you immediately respond, it's a sign of a healthy mind. If you often look back while walking, it means you lack confidence. Develop confidence at home and your journey becomes lighter. If you don't carry your past with you, your brain is more active between 5 and 7 p.m. Women are more attracted to deep-voiced men as they seem more confident and dominant. People with a strong sense of smell also tend to have a sharper brain. Thinking well is wise. Planning well is wiser. But doing well is the wisest and best of all. You become what you habitually think about. A person who tries to make everyone happy usually ends up lonely. When a cat wants to eat her kittens, she says they look like mice. Sometimes jealousy is your brain's way of showing how much you care. People who give short answers are usually more intelligent. Your mind works exactly how it's instructed. When the snake is old, the frog will tease him. If someone doesn't let go of your hand while shaking, they are a very confident person. Children who speak early tend to have stronger memories. Smiling increases your energy, improves mental health, and reduces heart attack and depression risk. If you enter the city of the blind, cover your eyes. Always listen to experienced people. They know the reasons behind their failures. People who cry more are mentally stronger than those who don't. Happy people see the world the way they want to. According to psychology, if you smile at someone who insults you, your smile hurts them like a dagger. Sad people see the world as it really is. Emotionally sensitive people are actually stronger because they connect everything with emotion. Being ignored by someone important to you causes the same pain as a physical injury in your brain. Forgetfulness is actually a sign of high intelligence. Prolonged loneliness is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Never show too much love or care, as people often devalue what's free. If you want to feel more energized, start your day by making your bed. If you're struggling with decision-making, it could be a sign of stress or anxiety. People who wake up early tend to be more productive and proactive throughout the day. Studies show that reading fiction can improve empathy and social skills. People who express gratitude regularly tend to be happier. When you experience something stressful, your body releases cortisol, which can have long-term effects on your health. Having a positive mindset can increase your lifespan by up to 7.5 years. Laughter really is the best medicine, reducing stress and promoting good health. If you walk barefoot on grass, it helps lower stress and boosts your mood. People who regularly practice mindfulness are better at managing their emotions. Acts of kindness improve your mood and can make you feel more connected to others. Your brain is constantly changing, forming new connections throughout your life. Spending time with animals can lower your blood pressure and reduce anxiety. Studies show that journaling can help reduce stress and improve your mental health. If you help others, it activates areas in your brain associated with pleasure and reward. The color blue is known to have a calming effect and can lower blood pressure. Smelling lavender can reduce anxiety and help you relax. Music can alter your mood and even help you think more clearly. Having close relationships can improve your mental and physical well-being. People who engage in creative activities like painting or writing tend to experience less stress. Learning new skills keeps your brain sharp and boosts self-confidence. A balanced diet is essential for maintaining good mental health. Exercising regularly releases endorphins, which can improve your mood. People who volunteer tend to feel more fulfilled and experience greater happiness.
Everyone thinks they understand human behavior. But the truth is, most of what we do isn't logical. It's patterns, instincts, and quirks hidden deep inside the brain. Scientists are still uncovering secrets that change how we see ourselves. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you never miss the psychology facts that reveal how your mind actually works. Now let's begin. 1. Talking to yourself is a sign of higher focus, not madness. When you speak your thoughts out loud, your brain treats those words as commands rather than background noise. Athletes mutter plays to themselves, surgeons whisper each step, and students repeat instructions because it sharpens concentration. Self-talk is your mind coaching itself in real time. It's less a flaw and more a hidden tool of mastery. 2. Messy handwriting often reveals a racing mind. The hand simply cannot keep up with the speed of thought, so words tumble out as scribbles. What looks chaotic on the page is usually the trace of rapid-fire ideas forming faster than ink can flow. These people aren't careless, they're overflowing. Messy writing is often the signature of creativity and quick thinking. 3. Negative words leave deeper marks than positive ones. From an evolutionary standpoint, spotting threats mattered more than noticing rewards. One harsh insult can echo in your mind for days, while 10 compliments may fade by morning. The brain stores pain more securely than praise. That's why criticism often sticks far longer than kindness. 4. Multitasking drains focus instead of saving time. Each time you switch from one task to another, your brain has to reset, losing precious energy. This mental reboot lowers sharpness to the level of someone who hasn't slept all night. The illusion is productivity, but the cost is clarity. True efficiency comes from depth, not division. 5. Doodling helps the brain remember more. When your hand sketches random shapes during a lecture or meeting, you're not distracted. You're anchoring attention. The small movement keeps your body busy, freeing your mind to absorb details. Studies prove doodlers recall more information than those who sit still. Scribbles are memory's secret ally. 6. A pounding heart can trick the brain into thinking it's love. Fear, excitement, or exercise all trigger the same physical reaction: adrenaline and a racing pulse. When someone attractive is nearby, your brain may mislabel the feeling as passion. That's why thrill rides or scary movies spark romance. Sometimes love is simply chemistry misinterpreted. 7. Mirroring body language is the body's confession of trust. When two people like each other, they subconsciously copy posture, gestures, even breathing rhythm. This silent mimicry builds instant rapport without words. It's your brain signaling connection. I feel safe with you. The body often reveals feelings long before the mouth admits them. 8. Quiet people are sharper observers than talkers. While others fill the air with words, they scan expressions, tones, and patterns in the room. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's a magnifying glass. They notice what most miss, from subtle gestures to hidden emotions. Stillness, for them, is perception. 9. Rejection activates the same pain pathways as injury. Being ignored or excluded doesn't just feel bad. Your brain registers it as real harm. Social wounds light up the same regions as physical bruises. That's why heartbreak can ache in the chest and loneliness can feel crushing. The brain treats isolation as danger. 10. Small lies smooth social life. On average, people lie once or twice a day, but usually with phrases like, "I'm fine," or "I'll be there soon." These aren't betrayals, they're fragile shields to avoid conflict or protect feelings. Honesty is noble, but bluntness isn't always kind. The little lie often serves as social glue. 11. Chewing gum sharpens focus and memory. The rhythmic act of chewing increases blood flow to the brain and boosts alertness. That's why students often chew during exams, and why soldiers used it in training. It wakes the mind without caffeine. Gum creates a steady beat, a mental metronome that helps the brain stay on track. It's a tiny habit with surprising power. 12. Calm people in chaos often carry old scars. What looks like composure is usually survival learned in youth. Those who grew up in unstable or stressful environments train their nervous systems under constant fire. As adults, they appear calm when storms hit. Not because they are unshaken, but because they've already weathered worse. Peace, for them, was never given. It was earned through struggle. 13. Creativity increases when you're slightly tired. Late at night, your brain's strict filters loosen. Ideas that would normally be dismissed as too weird are allowed to pass through. That's why some of the most brilliant inventions, songs, and theories began as scribbles in the dark. Fatigue isn't always failure. It can be the gate to originality. 14. A taste for dark humor signals resilience. People who laugh at life's most difficult truths aren't cruel. They're armored. Humor gives them distance from pain, a way to survive heaviness without being crushed. For them, comedy is not denial, but transformation. To laugh at the dark is to take its power away. 15. Night owls often question authority. Those awake long after midnight tend to challenge norms and resist control. The quiet hours give them space for independent thought and rebellion against rules. Many innovators and writers thrived in the night because silence let their minds run free. The darkness has always belonged to rebels. 16. Imagination rewires the brain almost like practice. When you visualize a skill, playing piano, shooting basketballs, giving a speech, the same neural pathways fire as if you were really doing it. Elite athletes rehearse victories in their minds before stepping onto the field. The brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined and real rehearsal. Thought becomes training long before action. 17. People with fewer friends often seek depth over noise. They value intimacy, loyalty, and understanding more than numbers. For them, one meaningful bond outweighs 10 shallow ones. Their smaller circles are not weakness, but choice. Depth is their currency, and they spend it carefully. 18. Writing down worries before bed frees the brain. Unspoken fears loop endlessly in the mind, keeping you awake. But once written, they're contained on paper, no longer swirling inside. The act tricks the brain into releasing them for the night. Sleep comes easier when your burdens have a place to rest too. 19. Talking to strangers improves happiness. A smile at the cashier, a short chat on the bus. These tiny connections spark joy in the social brain. We underestimate how much these small exchanges matter, yet they boost mood for hours. Happiness doesn't always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the passing nods of daily life. 20. Silence makes most people uncomfortable. We rush to fill it with chatter. Not because silence is empty, but because it is too full. Silence forces self-reflection, and many fear what they'll hear. That's why quiet moments in conversation feel heavy. Silence is a mirror, and not everyone wants to look into it. 21. People who swear are often more honest. Profanity bypasses the filters of politeness, letting raw truth slip through. Someone who curses in frustration is usually showing their real feelings rather than hiding behind diplomacy. Swearing can act as a badge of sincerity, a way of saying, "I'm not dressing this up, I mean it." The rough word often carries the real heart. 22. Music with lyrics distracts the mind more than instrumentals. When you study or work while listening to songs with words, your brain competes between processing the lyrics and your own thoughts. That's why many people perform better with classical, ambient, or lo-fi beats. Lyrics hijack language centers, dragging focus away. The background sound you choose shapes the sharpness of your mind. 23. Couples who laugh together stay together longer. Shared humor is more than fun. It's glue. Every inside joke is proof of a shared perspective, a signal that two people see the world the same way. Laughter builds intimacy faster than romance alone. A relationship that laughs survives storms that silence cannot. 24. High empathy can feel like physical pain. Mirror neurons fire when we see others suffer, activating the same regions as if we were hurt ourselves. That's why empathetic people flinch at injuries on screen or ache when loved ones cry. Compassion isn't just emotion, it's biology. To feel another's pain is literally to borrow their wound. 25. Daydreaming sharpens problem solving. When the mind wanders, it slips free of pressure and explores new possibilities. This mental sandbox allows creative solutions to emerge that logic might block. The sudden aha moment often comes after spacing out, not grinding harder. What looks like laziness is often quiet invention. 26. Chasing happiness makes it harder to catch. The more you hunt joy directly, the more it slips away. Happiness resists capture. It's a side effect of meaning, not a prize. People who focus on purpose, connection, and growth find happiness arriving quietly at their side. Joy is the shadow of fulfillment, not its substitute. 27. People who walk faster often live longer. Pace isn't just habit, it's vitality. A brisk stride signals strong cardiovascular health and higher energy. Studies show walking speed predicts longevity better than weight or diet alone. Life seems to stretch for those who move with purpose. 28. Memory rewrites itself each time it's recalled. The past is not a recording, it's a story retold. Each time you remember, details shift slightly, colored by your current emotions. Over years, the memory you cling to may barely resemble reality. The past is alive, constantly edited by the present. 29. Overthinking is the double-edged sword of intelligence. A sharp mind can slice problems apart, but it can also trap itself in endless spirals. The gift of analysis becomes a curse when possibilities multiply into paralysis. Smart people often suffer under the weight of their own thoughts. Their strength and struggle come from the same blade. 30. Compliments release more dopamine than money. Being recognized lights up the brain's reward circuits more quickly than financial gain. Praise satisfies a deeper need than wealth, the need for belonging and value. That's why even small acknowledgments can uplift someone for hours. Validation is a richer currency than cash. 31. Hearing your own name triggers instant attention. The sound of your name activates unique pathways in the brain's attention system. Even in a noisy crowd, you'll notice it above all other words. That's why salespeople, teachers, and leaders use names often. It pulls focus like a personal alarm. Your name is the most powerful word you'll ever hear. 32. The color blue calms the nervous system. From the sea to the sky, blue has always signaled safety. Staring at it lowers heart rate and blood pressure, creating a sense of stability. That's why hospitals and bedrooms are often painted in blue tones. Your brain reads the color as peace itself. 33. Emotion tattoos memory deeper than facts. Ordinary days fade, but moments of love, grief, or fear remain etched. The amygdala brands these experiences into long-term memory because survival depends on remembering intense feelings. That's why a breakup or a joyful wedding day feels vivid years later. Emotion is memory's ink. 34. Smiling can trick your brain into happiness. Even a forced smile activates the release of dopamine and serotonin. The brain buys what the face sells, slowly shifting mood. Sometimes joy begins as an act, and the act becomes reality. A smile is rebellion against sadness. 35. Solitude creates emotional independence. Those who enjoy being alone aren't broken. They're self-sufficient. They don't need constant validation because they can generate peace within themselves. Solitude sharpens clarity, creativity, and resilience. Being comfortable alone is a quiet superpower. 1. Talking to yourself makes your brain sharper, not weaker. By speaking your thoughts out loud, the brain treats the words as real instructions instead of background noise. That's why top athletes, surgeons, and even chess players whisper to themselves to improve focus and control. Self-talk is your mind coaching itself into peak performance. 2. Messy handwriting usually signals a fast and creative thinker. Ideas are moving so quickly in the brain that the hand can't keep up, leaving chaotic scribbles on the page. What looks like disorder is actually the trace of speed, imagination, and overflowing thought. Messy writing is often the mark of a restless and brilliant mind. 3. Negative words stay longer in memory than positive ones. The brain evolved to pay closer attention to threats than to rewards because survival depended on it. A single insult can echo for days, while 10 compliments fade almost instantly. Pain is stored in bold ink, while kindness is often written in pencil. 4. Multitasking doesn't make you efficient, it makes you weaker. Switching between tasks forces the brain to reset each time, draining energy and clarity. Research shows multitasking lowers IQ temporarily to the level of someone who stayed up all night. Focused depth always beats scattered energy. 5. Doodling is not distraction, it is memory's hidden anchor. When people sketch during lectures or meetings, they actually recall more details later. The moving hand occupies the body so the mind can lock onto what is being said. Scribbles become secret tools of attention and retention. 6. A racing heartbeat can trick your brain into believing it's love. Fear, excitement, and attraction all release the same rush of adrenaline and pounding pulse. That's why dates at roller coasters or scary movies feel more intense and romantic. The brain often mistakes danger for desire. 7. Mirroring body language is the body's silent confession of trust. When people cross their legs, tilt their heads, or even breathe in sync, it's a sign of hidden connection. The brain copies what it likes and what it feels safe with. Mirroring is rapport without a single word spoken. 8. Quiet people often observe more than loud ones. While others fill the air with noise, the silent ones are scanning details and emotions others miss. Stillness sharpens awareness and gives them insights that pass unnoticed in conversation. Silence is not emptiness, it's a magnifying glass. 9. Rejection lights up the same brain regions as physical injury. Being excluded, ignored, or heartbroken doesn't just hurt emotionally. It activates the same neural pathways as a bruise or cut. That's why heartbreak aches in the chest and loneliness feels crushing. To the brain, social wounds are real wounds. 10. Small lies usually serve as fragile shields, not betrayals. People lie once or twice a day, but mostly with phrases like, "I'm fine," or "I'll be there soon." These lies aren't meant to deceive, but to avoid conflict or protect feelings. Dishonesty sometimes comes from kindness, not cruelty. 11. Chewing gum sharpens focus and improves memory. The rhythm of chewing increases blood flow to the brain and wakes up alertness. That's why students often chew during exams, and soldiers once used gum in training. A small and simple act can give the brain a secret edge. 12. Calm people in chaos often learn their composure the hard way. Many who look unshaken during storms grew up in unstable environments where they had to regulate stress early. Their calmness is not natural but forged through survival and scars. What looks like effortless strength is often the memory of past battles. 13. Creativity often appears when the brain is slightly tired. In the late hours, the mental guardrails that normally filter out strange ideas grow weaker. This allows the mind to connect thoughts in unusual and original ways. What feels like chaos and exhaustion can later become a spark of genius. Fatigue opens doors that logic usually keeps closed. 14. Dark humor is a sign of resilience, not cruelty. Laughing at painful or taboo topics helps people cope with heavy realities. By reshaping pain into comedy, they give themselves distance from suffering. Humor becomes armor against the harshest experiences. Joking about the dark is survival disguised as laughter. 15. Night owls are more likely to question authority. Those who thrive at night often resist traditional rules and expectations. Darkness gives them freedom to think differently without pressure. Many rebels, writers, and innovators worked best while others slept. Midnight hours belong to independent minds. 16. Imagination rewires the brain almost like practice itself. Visualizing a skill activates the same neural circuits as performing it in real life. Athletes rehearse victories in their heads before they compete. Musicians practice silently by imagining each note played. The mind lays the path long before the body walks it. 17. People with fewer friends usually prefer depth over noise. They focus on loyalty, honesty, and intimacy rather than large social circles. Their smaller groups protect them from betrayal and exhaustion. Each relationship carries more weight and sincerity. In their world, quality always outweighs quantity. 18. Writing down worries before bed brings peace to the brain. Unwritten fears spin in circles, keeping the mind restless. Once captured on paper, the brain releases them and allows calmness to return. This simple ritual helps people sleep deeper and recover better. A notebook often becomes the container for a quiet night. 19. Talking to strangers increases happiness more than expected. Small interactions, like greeting a cashier or chatting with a neighbor, activate social reward systems. These micro moments reduce feelings of loneliness and create sparks of joy. We often underestimate their power in daily life. Happiness is sometimes found in passing smiles. 20. Silence is uncomfortable because it reflects inward. People fear the emptiness because it forces them to hear their own inner voices. That's why pauses in conversation feel so heavy and awkward. Silence doesn't lack meaning, it has too much. The quiet exposes what words usually hide. 21. Swearing often signals honesty and emotional intensity. Profanity bypasses the social filters of politeness and reveals unpolished truth. People who curse openly tend to express emotions more sincerely. Rough language can sometimes carry the most genuine feelings. Honesty often sounds raw and unrefined. 22. Music with lyrics competes directly with your thoughts. The brain can't process song words and internal thinking at the same time. That's why classical or instrumental music improves concentration. Lyrics hijack the language centers and drain focus. Silence or sound without words sharpens mental clarity. 23. Couples who laugh together are more resilient over time. Shared humor builds intimacy and softens conflict better than logic alone. Every inside joke proves a shared view of the world. Laughter is glue that holds relationships steady in storms. Joy in love is stronger than passion alone. 24. Deep empathy feels like borrowing another's pain. Mirror neurons activate as if you were experiencing the suffering yourself. That's why compassionate people wince when others get hurt. Empathy is not just imagination. It is biology. To feel with someone is to carry part of their burden. 25. Daydreaming is problem-solving in disguise. When the mind wanders, it explores possibilities beyond the pressure of focus. Many breakthroughs arrive while walking, showering, or staring into space. What looks like idleness is creative testing behind the scenes. Wandering thoughts are often working thoughts. 26. Chasing happiness directly makes it harder to achieve. The more people pursue joy as a goal, the more it escapes them. Happiness comes as a byproduct of purpose, connection, and growth. It cannot be hunted, only welcomed. Fulfillment attracts joy quietly, without pursuit. 27. Walking speed reveals health and vitality. People who walk briskly tend to live longer and healthier lives. Doctors even use pace as a predictor of longevity. Energy and strength show themselves in each stride. Your steps can reveal the length of your journey. 28. Memory changes a little every time it is recalled. When you revisit a moment, the brain rewrites details with today's emotions and context. Over years, stories shift until they barely resemble the original event. What feels like a fixed memory is actually a living story. The past is constantly edited by the present. 29. Overthinking is intelligence turned inward against itself. A sharp mind can generate endless possibilities but also endless doubts. This ability to analyze deeply can trap decisions in spirals. What solves problems in one moment can create them in another. Brilliance and burden live in the same mind. 30. Compliments release more dopamine than money. Recognition satisfies the brain's reward system faster than cash. Humans crave belonging and appreciation above material gain. That's why praise can energize someone for days. Validation feels richer than wealth to the human heart. 31. Hearing your own name captures attention instantly. Even in a noisy crowd, the brain detects it above all other sounds. Identity is wired as the strongest trigger of focus. That's why salespeople, leaders, and teachers use names often. Your name is the most powerful word you'll ever hear. 32. The color blue calms the body and the mind. It lowers heart rate, eases breathing, and reduces stress hormones. Blue reminds the brain of sky and sea, ancient signs of safety. That's why hospitals, bedrooms, and apps often use it. The color itself speaks peace into the nervous system. 33. Emotion leaves deeper marks on memory than logic. Facts are forgotten quickly, but feelings stay carved in the brain. The amygdala ensures emotional events are stored long-term for survival. That's why heartbreaks, weddings, or grief remain vivid decades later. Feeling is memory's true ink. 34. Smiling can create happiness instead of reflecting it. Even a forced smile tricks the brain into releasing dopamine and serotonin. Over time, mood catches up with expression. Joy doesn't always begin inside, it can start on the face. The body leads, and the mind follows. 35. Enjoying solitude signals strong emotional independence. People who like being alone recharge from within instead of seeking constant validation. They don't fear silence, they use it for clarity and strength. Solitude builds creativity and resilience. Being comfortable alone is a rare form of power. 36. Anger is often a mask for softer emotions underneath. People roar so that their fear, shame, or sadness remain hidden. Rage feels powerful but usually protects fragility. What looks like hostility may be pain in disguise. Behind the fire often lies something deeply vulnerable. 37. Sharing secrets bonds people faster than years of small talk. Every confession is a gift of vulnerability, inviting trust in return. That's why whispered truths build closeness quickly. Secrets act like emotional glue between people. Trust grows strongest in the dark. 38. Reading fiction trains empathy like exercise. By living in characters' minds, You practice understanding perspectives beyond your own. This strengthens your ability to sense emotions in real life. Stories aren't just entertainment. They're rehearsal for compassion. Books build the muscles of empathy. 39. Fatigue lowers resistance to influence and persuasion. Tired brains save energy by agreeing more quickly. That's why late-night arguments or negotiations often end in concessions. Exhaustion doesn't just weaken the body, it softens the will. Fatigue makes compliance feel easier than conflict. 40. Forgiveness heals the body as much as the soul. Holding grudges floods the body with stress chemicals that weaken health. Releasing resentment lowers blood pressure and restores balance. Forgiveness doesn't excuse wrongs, it frees the one who was wronged. Letting go is medicine disguised as mercy. 41. Faces are remembered far longer than names. The brain evolved to recognize allies and threats visually before language even existed. That's why you can recall a face from decades ago but forget the name seconds later. Faces are survival markers. Names are inventions. Vision holds memory better than words. 42. Avoiding eye contact often means deep thought, not disinterest. The brain sometimes needs to look away to process information fully. Concentration can make direct gaze impossible. Looking down or aside can be a sign of effort, not avoidance. The mind runs deeper when the eyes wander. 43. Emotions guide decisions before logic arrives. We like to think choices are rational, but feelings act first. The brain leaps toward what feels right, and reasoning often comes later to justify. Emotion is the compass, logic the lawyer. What we call rationality is often explanation, not cause. 44. Talking quickly makes people seem more confident. Listeners equate speed with certainty, even if the content is the same. A rapid, fluent delivery signals sharpness and conviction. The brain mistakes fluency for intelligence. Fast words can persuade where slow ones cannot. 45. Threats capture attention faster than rewards. Evolution wired the brain to notice danger before opportunity. Missing food hurt less than missing a predator. That's why fear spreads quicker than hope and bad news outshines good. The mind still prioritizes survival over success. 46. Writing down goals increases the chance of success. Putting dreams into ink makes them concrete instead of vague. Studies show written goals are achieved far more often than spoken ones. The act signals commitment to the brain. A notebook can turn wishes into plans. 47. Loneliness damages health like smoking or poor diet. Isolation raises stress hormones, weakens immunity, and shortens lifespan. The human brain is built for tribe, not solitude. Without connection, the body and soul both decline. Loneliness isn't just sadness, it's sickness. 48. First impressions are formed in less than a second. Before a word is spoken, the brain scans posture, eyes, and micro-movements. These snap judgments are survival instincts carried into modern life. Once formed, they are hard to undo. Safety or danger is decided faster than truth. 49. Nostalgia eases pain like a natural drug. Remembering happy moments triggers dopamine and oxytocin. Old songs or scents can soothe stress instantly. The brain uses memory as medicine. The past comforts the present more than we realize. 50. Power reduces empathy and perspective. Feeling dominant suppresses brain regions linked to compassion. Leaders and the powerful risk making bolder but colder choices. Authority intoxicates by shrinking emotional awareness. Power sharpens action but dulls connection. 51. People eat more when offered variety. Different flavors and colors reset the appetite repeatedly. That's why buffets make people overeat compared to single meals. The brain craves novelty even when the body doesn't need it. Variety tricks fullness into silence. 52. Breathing synchronizes between people who connect deeply. Couples, friends, and even groups in harmony often match rhythm without trying. Shared breath is a physical sign of closeness. The body mirrors the bond silently. Intimacy shapes even the way lungs move. 53. Memory strengthens when tied to location. The brain links information with places, building mental maps. That's why you recall facts better in the room where you learned them. Ancient storytellers used the memory palace to remember long tales. Space becomes a filing cabinet for thought. 54. Curiosity is the brain's hunger for knowledge. Dopamine fires when you seek answers, just as if anticipating food. That's why puzzles, mysteries, and secrets feel addictive. Curiosity turns learning into pleasure. The mind craves discovery as much as survival. 55. Stress pushes people into risky choices. Adrenaline narrows thought and makes bold actions seem urgent. Gamblers under stress bet more recklessly. Urgency tricks the brain into mistaking danger for necessity. Pressure bends judgment toward impulse. 56. Symmetry in faces signals beauty across all cultures. The brain reads balance as health and genetic strength. Even infants prefer symmetrical faces before they can speak. Evolution carved attraction into geometry. What we call beauty is survival dressed as aesthetics. 57. Emotions distort time perception. Fear slows seconds into minutes, while joy makes hours vanish. The brain stretches or compresses time depending on feeling. That's why danger feels endless and happiness feels fleeting. Emotion is the true clock of human life. 58. Repetition makes lies feel like truth. The more often a statement is repeated, the safer and more familiar it feels to the brain. Familiarity gets mistaken for accuracy, even without proof. That's why propaganda and advertising use repetition constantly. The mind confuses recognition with reality. 59. Complaining rewires the brain toward negativity. Each time you dwell on problems, those neural pathways grow stronger. Over time, the brain defaults to pessimism because it takes the easiest, most practiced route. Gratitude can feel unnatural at first because it's building new connections. Thoughts carve grooves that shape outlook. 60. Gestures help the brain process abstract ideas. When people move their hands while explaining, they anchor complex concepts into physical form. This helps both the speaker and the listener understand better. Gestures are not distractions, they are tools for clarity. The body supports the mind in communication. 61. Sleep is the brain's memory workshop. During deep rest, the brain replays and reorganizes the day's events. Important details are reinforced while irrelevant clutter gets erased. That's why studying before bed strengthens recall. Sleep isn't rest, it's the mind's filing system. 62. Small gestures of kindness impact more than we realize. A smile, a thank you, or holding the door can alter someone's entire day. These actions trigger dopamine and oxytocin in both giver and receiver. You may forget the act, but the other person may remember it for years. Kindness is tiny, but unforgettable. 63. Multilingual people often shift personalities with language. Each language carries its own rhythm, culture, and emotional associations. Speaking a different tongue can make someone more confident, humorous, or formal. The brain doesn't just switch words, it adjusts tone and mindset. Language is identity in multiple versions. 64. Anticipation excites the brain more than reward itself. Waiting for a surprise, a gift, or a big event triggers huge dopamine surges. The what if feels stronger than the what is. That's why cliffhangers and countdowns are so addictive. The thrill is often in the waiting. 65. Fast talkers are perceived as more persuasive. Quick, fluent speech signals certainty and intelligence, even when the content is identical. Listeners equate speed with confidence and sharp thinking. The brain mistakes fluency for authority. A rapid tongue can sell even weak arguments. 66. Jealousy activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Seeing someone else with what you want hurts like an injury. That's why jealousy feels like being punched in the gut or stabbed in the heart. The brain processes lost status as danger. Envy is pain disguised as anger. 67. Love floods the brain with chemicals like addiction. Early romance surges with dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, creating euphoria and obsession. The brain treats love like a drug, pulling you back for more. That's why people act irrationally when in love. Passion is chemistry wrapped in poetry. 68. People remember emotions longer than exact words. You may forget what someone said, but you'll always recall how they made you feel. Emotional tone burns deeper into memory than language. That's why kindness and cruelty echo louder than details. Feelings outlive sentences. 9. Group pressure can override personal truth. Experiments prove people will agree with obviously wrong answers if the group insists. Belonging feels safer than accuracy, because rejection once meant death. Conformity isn't weakness, it's survival instinct. The tribe's voice can drown the individual's. 70. Images make information feel more trustworthy. The brain gives more credibility to facts paired with visuals. That's why charts, pictures, and symbols can manipulate as much as inform. Seeing feels like believing, even when the picture deceives. Vision persuades faster than reason. 71. Humor diffuses conflict faster than logic ever could. A joke lowers tension, reduces defensiveness, and shifts perspective instantly. Where reasoning might fuel argument, laughter disarms. Humor resets the emotional tone of a room. Jokes are weapons of peace. 72. Tone of voice shapes perceived intelligence. Calm, steady speech sounds wiser than rushed or shaky delivery. People judge intelligence and authority by rhythm before content. That's why leaders train not only what they say, but how they say it. Sound persuades as much as meaning. 73. Stress narrows the brain's perception. Under pressure, adrenaline makes you focus only on immediate threats. While this helps survival, it kills creativity and long-term planning. That's why in emergencies, people miss small details. Calmness expands awareness that stress compresses. 74. Emotions spread between people like invisible waves. If someone is anxious, those nearby often feel tense too. If someone is joyful, others lighten up. Mirror neurons pick up and copy emotional states automatically. We don't just mimic gestures, we catch moods. Emotion is contagious energy. 75. The brain values losses more heavily than gains. Losing $100 hurts far more than winning $100 feels good. This loss aversion guides countless decisions without us noticing. It was safer to avoid danger than to chase reward. Fear weighs more than hope in human psychology. 76. Music influences how people drive. Fast, intense beats raise heart rate and push drivers to speed, while slow songs calm and slow movements. Playlists can shape risk-taking more than we realize. That's why traffic safety campaigns sometimes target sound. Your ears help steer your hands. 77. People unconsciously mimic others' accents and tones. When we like someone, our voice shifts slightly toward their rhythm and pitch. It's the brain's way of building connection without words. This mimicry happens faster than we notice. Even speech wants to belong. 78. Messy environments often boost creativity. Clutter stimulates the brain with unpredictability, sparking unconventional thought. While order promotes discipline, chaos encourages invention. That's why some innovators thrive in disorganized rooms. Disorder feeds imagination. 9. Fear burns memories deeper into the brain. Moments of terror activate the amygdala and sear details into long-term storage. Smells, sounds, and sights from those events stay vivid for decades. Fear is evolution's branding iron for survival. Trauma lasts longer than comfort. 80. Laughing at yourself builds resilience. Turning mistakes into jokes lowers stress and protects self-esteem. It shows strength rather than weakness, because it robs errors of power. People who laugh at themselves recover from setbacks faster. Humor transforms shame into survival. 81. Height influences perceptions of power. Taller individuals are often judged as more competent and leader-like, even when skill is equal. Studies show height even sways elections and promotions. The brain equates size with strength, Instinct shapes judgment more than reason. 82. Curiosity locks learning into memory. When you want to know, dopamine activates and boosts retention. That's why lessons tied to genuine interest stick better than forced ones. Curiosity makes knowledge addictive. The hungry brain never forgets what it craves. 83. Positive instructions work better than negatives. Walk slowly is obeyed more than don't run, because the brain struggles with negation. Clear, affirmative phrasing directs action more effectively. Words shape behavior like rails shape trains. Guidance works best when it points forward. 84. Stress increases cravings for sugar. Cortisol signals the body to seek fast energy, making sweets irresistible. The relief is short-lived, but the crash deepens fatigue. Stress hijacks appetite into survival mode. Cravings are biology, not weakness. 85. Emotionally charged speeches are remembered longer than factual ones. Passion and energy burn into the mind while pure logic fades. That's why movements rely on fiery words rather than statistics. The brain holds on to feelings stronger than facts. Emotion is the true echo of memory. 86. Human behavior is more predictable than we think. Habits and subconscious scripts guide most choices with surprising regularity. Psychologists can forecast actions because patterns repeat. Free will exists, but often shares space with automatic wiring. Predictability hides in everyday routines. 87. Planning your day in the morning reduces stress. Writing down tasks gives the brain a sense of order before chaos begins. This lowers cortisol and increases focus throughout the day. The mind relaxes when it sees a clear roadmap. A plan is a shield against anxiety.